Hello, it is Monday, August 7th, 2023 at 4:06 p.m. Eastern Time, USA, 16:06. I'm Mitch Miller. This is my video journal. You'll notice I have a band-aid on my nose. It's kind of an homage to one of my favorite films, Chinatown. I just popped a whitehead in the bathroom on my nose and it started gushing blood. I've never had this happen to me, really. And I know it would take an hour with toilet paper, dabbing it to get it to stop bleeding, so I just put this on there. I thought, we'll do an homage, right? Jack Nicholson, another Jack Nicholson part. Anyhow, I want to propose a new program that discretionary funds from the federal government can be used for. But first, I want to just kind of frame this, because I don't know if you caught it on the last one. I said that when I traveled to Washington, D.C. at the end of September 2016 during the presidential election season, I did go into Trump International Hotel in Washington, D.C. I walked in, I believe it was later at night, maybe 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. I walked into the lobby and I asked the receptionist in front of the receptionist computers, "Is Donald Trump here?" So I went down to talk to Barack Obama. I tried to knock on the White House door, and I also tried to talk to Donald Trump. Neither one was willing to speak with me, to my knowledge. So I registered my voice in the Trump International Hotel, right? Then, because that hotel was only 4 blocks from the White House, as I posted on someone's picture from Washington, D.C. on Facebook, so this is public knowledge now. I left the country to explain to other foreign leaders that, hey, this guy can have hundreds of lobbyists every day meeting with him in his private hotel and taking cash and bribes and all kinds of stuff, right? And it blew my mind that he was able to have that hotel right there and literally walk and pick up lobbyist money. Anyhow, my point is that I registered my voice in that computer system. If it was listening, it picked up my voice. I went in there and I asked for Donald Trump. So that was in 2016, before he was nominated president. He hadn't won the election yet. He had not taken office. And as I've explained many times, I believe I'm a person of interest to supercomputers, artificial intelligence. That means, I think that implies that businesses I utilize or businesses I come in contact with could potentially be flagged as a business of interest, a BOI. I very much think that Trump International Hotel, because I went in there and acknowledged that it was in existence to the supercomputers, that this business was flagged as a business of interest. Now, I recently read an article where tons of Middle Eastern politicians and businessmen utilized that hotel and fed millions of dollars legally through utilizing the hotel into Donald Trump's empire, his businesses. Who knows what kind of cash transactions were taken off the books, but on the books there is a very real paper trail of tons of Middle Eastern dignitaries, politicians, and business people utilizing those hotels, that hotel. What I'm saying is, this is an interesting opportunity, right? We have artificial intelligence that I've argued is out of control, supercomputers that I've argued is out of control. So, who's to say? And you have voice recognition, you have facial recognition. These softwares are somewhat out of control, right? Or could be, and I've made that argument. So these technologies could have been wiretapping every television in every room of Trump International Hotel in Washington, D.C. since September 2016. And if that comes out, if those recordings come out, and those translations come out, it can be argued that it was because I was there, right? And that I've allied with the computers, I guide them, I try to work with them, the supercomputers, the artificial intelligence, but ultimately they decide what to listen to using their senses, their very real senses, which is every speaker system which can be turned into a microphone on planet Earth. Where they direct their attention, I can kind of guide them. Here's another concept to think about. I believe that I am the director, the chosen director of supercomputers and artificial intelligence, right? Whether it's director of the FBI, NSA, I believe they want me in one of these positions. Definitely, as I've joked on my videos from abroad, I'm definitely the director of the FCC CIA, right? According to the computers. So, if they have voted me in as director, even if the humans aren't going to vote, even if the Senate and the House aren't going to vote, and no president's going to nominate me into this position, they have nominated me, they have elected me that position. So, voice recognition software is a CIA invention, right? FBI invention, facial recognition software, all these things, all these technologies. So it would make sense that they would seek me out wherever I go, right? To keep track of me, to try to keep me safe, because the government's not going to provide me with an armed federal agent 24/7 to protect me. The government's actually taken away my ability to own or possess a firearm, so I'm virtually defenseless in this nation full of people with firearms. Now, if I was in China or Japan, where martial arts and the honor system work, right? We don't hide behind computers and firearms. I would be fine because I've taught myself some rudimentary martial arts while I've been incarcerated. And I wrestled for 14 years, basically. But in this society, there's firearms everywhere. Everybody's got one, except me, basically. Anyhow, it makes sense that their facial recognition, their voice recognition software would tag me and track businesses that I have been to. So it creates an interesting situation, because you can make the argument, if you work at the FBI, if you work at the CIA, you work wherever, hey, this technology is a little bit out of our hands, and we believe that he's their chosen director. So, the director of the FCC CIA went into Trump International Hotel, and a bunch of wiretaps started all over the world and registered in servers and hard drives all around the world. And now some of that stuff is surfacing, some of those recordings. And what I would prioritize looking out for is assassinations of journalists, right? I don't agree with everything, with how journalists present things in our media system, but you do need journalists to point out corruption, either corporate or government corruption. They're brave people. I don't always agree with how they present the information. It can stir up riots and all kinds of stuff. But you definitely don't want to kill them, and you don't want leaders of nations. We want freedom of speech, right? We want the freedom of speech, free press, and things like that. So that would be of interest to me. But again, I'm not going to be sitting in front of a console anytime soon being presented with these recordings or this information. What I do want to talk about under this new idea of Trump International Hotel, which is no longer in existence in Washington, D.C., is a program. It's a simple, pragmatic program. If you subscribe to this idea of what I'm putting out there, that I am some kind of director. I'm definitely a person of interest. I may be some kind of director to the supercomputers and artificial intelligence. So it's a simple program. I'm going to call it Operation Glitch for Twitchy Mitch. I proposed this in my modcast before. It's a new turn. It's a new take on that, right? We've had Operation Oligarch. That failed to launch, obviously. I've suggested Operation Obama. That seems to have failed to have launched, both involving yachts and trying to end the Ukraine war. So let's focus domestically. Maybe it's safer for me to remain fairly unknown artist operating domestically. So I have this Operation Glitch for Twitchy Mitch. It's a $100,000 program for 60 days. So I have a Direct Express debit card issued to me from the federal government. They use an outside bank, but it's linked to the Treasury, to the federal Treasury. It's how I receive my Social Security disability payments, $1,100 per month. Right, I have this debit card. It's got a chip in it. It's got a magnetic reader. I've used it at restaurants before, but I mostly just pull cash out. I took the cash option instead of direct deposit into my bank account. I get paid the second Wednesday of each month. So on the second Wednesday of each month, if I'm here at my house, I try to call on my landline telephone to secure the system and check my balance. So I enter a card number, enter a thing, and I hear the balance and hear the deposit for the month that went in. So that's one way I find out my balance, my total balance in my account linked to the Treasury. The third Wednesday, or on or around the third Wednesday of each month, I wait a week and then I start to draw that money out. I've been making 2 withdrawals per month, pull all $1,100 out. And when I get a printout from the ATM, it tells my balance on the card. Now, Glitch for Twitchy Mitch plays into this idea that the intelligence community, the international community, is going to try to transition to an open, transparent way of doing things. They're going to stop using fake passports, fake IDs, and all kinds of stuff to travel around, slink around in the shadows, torture people, and do who knows what. Make bank transfers, transfer all the money out of the banks, crash the economy, all kinds of stuff, right? So I said, acknowledge 18 months, the total amount of time I've been incarcerated in my lifetime, after I trace a border around, hypothetically, the United States, Europe, so on and so forth. This plays into that. So the glitch comes in, there's a glitch, and $100,000 is deposited to my Direct Express account. So that would bring my balance to about $105,000. When I find out this glitch occurred, I search the fastest route to visit all 48 state capitals of the United States, right? I pull a bunch of cash out of that glitch deposit to make payments on a federal style fleet vehicle. I search what is the most popular or the most in operation fleet vehicle of the federal government. Then I go and I try to find that same make, model, and year. Maybe it's 2-3 years old at this point. And I buy it and I start making payments on it. I take that vehicle, I plug this USB with all these videos into the dash, so it's linked up to the dash computer system, and I take off for the first state capital in the lineup of state capitals. So I figure 60 days I can visit all 48 state capitals. Now my standard operating procedure in Europe was I walk into a hotel, I ask if there's a vacancy, and I book the hotel room right on the spot. So what I do at each state capital is I search what hotel do the most lobbyists go to. So I go to the fancy hotel in the state capital where some watchdog group has posted a blurb on the internet about how a lot of lobbyists go to this hotel, right? So I go to that hotel, I walk in, is there a vacancy? I book a room, I check in, I link my devices to the Wi-Fi, I put the USB out of the ignition, out of the dashboard of the vehicle, and I put it into the television in that room. I work out at the gym, I have my coffee in the morning, and every morning I search on the Wi-Fi in that hotel room, the next state capital, what's the hotel that all the lobbyists go to, and whatever my Google search comes up as, that's the hotel I punch into my GPS on my Apple telephone, and I use the Apple GPS system to drive to the next state capital, right? Now so I figure $40,000 to $50,000 for a fleet vehicle, for a fleet style vehicle, and $50,000 to $60,000 on hotel rooms, because if I show up at a state capital in the middle of the week, I might get into that nice fancy hotel for $300, $400, $500, because I'm going to ask for the cheapest room they have every time. But if I show up on a Saturday and there's a conference in the state capital, the only room available might be the presidential suite, right? And I might have to pay $2,000 to get a hotel room in that hotel, or I might not be able to get one in that hotel, and I'll have to go to the next I'll go to the largest hotel I can find. That's the most amount of wiretaps, right? So the idea is we crack down on state political corruption right from the beginning, right? You can't crack down on corporate corruption if you have a corrupt government. So we'll start with the government first. State capitals, the hotels where all these shady meetups happen, if they're not happening in the offices, which I take care of by allowing the governor to put me on their treasury system, that would investigate that type of thing. We'll go to these hotels, and so if we start it now, start it this year, we can track a history of corruption in these politicians, and maybe in 5 or 6 years when they run for federal office, we have the wiretaps, the wiretaps start to surface from all over the world. Here's what we heard, here's the takeaway, here's the trade-off, so on and so forth. So we build a profile of these politicians, and if they're being corrupt, they can be exposed at the right time and not blackmailed and manipulated like the political system does, right? Oh, I found out so-and-so took this, this, and this. I'm going to blackmail and manipulate them into voting this way, voting that way, doing this, doing that, nominating this person, right? It's cut and dry. The computer's director or whoever was given the information, and now we're just going to either expose that through the media or seek charges because we've passed tougher corruption legislation, so on and so forth. So that's a program. I visit all 48 state capitals. Then in 18 months, maybe I could get an Amtrak pass and take the Amtrak trains to all the largest cities in each state and check into the Ritzy Hotel. Where do all the executives stay, right? Search that. So there's a couple things. I have my cousin's Lori's wedding here in Pittsburgh in October. I would have to drive back for that, but I could get going in September and drive back for that, and then head back out and hit the road again, and be finished up by Thanksgiving, or at least, or for definitely Christmas, and be back for the holidays. I don't mind not hunting this year. Me and Hillary have already talked about not hunting this year. I like to help out my uncles, but that's no big deal. If something else important came up like this, it comes up. So again, I see the balance is $100K. This is what I'm going to do with it. Operation Glitch for Twitchy Mitch. Now, cover story. My cover story is this. Some anonymous benefactor noticed some of my photography and is paying for me to take pictures of each state capitol building. They're paying for a 60-day trip for me to do this. I can disclose some or all of the details of the financials with my spouse. I tell her that cover story. I tell all my friends and family that cover story if they ask. And I tell Hillary, you know, if I get all 48 states and they like the work that I've done, they'll consider paying for us to fly to Alaska's capital for 3 nights and then to Hawaii's capital for 4 nights. So bear with me. I'm going to be on the road for 2 months, 3 months, but we might get a nice trip out of it. And then we'll look at the budget after all the hotel rooms I've checked into, and hopefully I can afford to do that trip on the $100K. I'd like to buy a vehicle outright and not make payments on it, but if I'm making payments, I'll definitely have that type of money available. It'll be hard. You can't swipe a debit card to buy a vehicle, to my knowledge. And I can only pull $600 cash out per day. So if I'm going to leave in a timely manner, I'll only be able to pull several $1,000s out and deposit it in my account to make sure I can make the payments while Hillary can write the check to make the payments while I'm gone. So that is what I wanted to talk about today. Operation Glitch for Twitchy Mitch. I already have the card. I already have the account set up. It'd be very easy for the federal government to allocate some discretionary funds into that account, and when I see that the balance is where it's at, I will take the initiative to do this. Then you have plausible deniability. The supercomputers are out of control. They're producing this evidence. We did not task him with this mission. He took it upon himself when he saw a glitch in our computer system. Then if they come after me for the money back, the taxes, whatever, then we could get into this video or get into this explanation or just explain what I did, why I did it, and because I believe supercomputers are going to cut down on corruption in the government at the state level and eventually the federal level. Can't remember if there's anything else I wanted to touch base on. Again, I get paid this Wednesday. I doubt you'll get it done by then, but maybe by September we can get this domestic program taken care of. We can start the wheels turning, start the wiretaps. And the NSA, the CIA already put out a very public news article on TV news in the USA Today about how smart televisions can spy on you. I will testify that I was locked in a mental facility and saw it on television and saw it in USA Today while I was incarcerated. So I know it happened. It was I had access to the mainstream media at that point. So everybody in the United States was informed. So if they incriminate themselves and supercomputers are listening and bring that evidence up, the federal government did what it could to warn people that you shouldn't do transactions and talk around this type of equipment if you're doing something shady, or if you just want privacy, right? If you want privacy, it's hard to find these days. So that's the program, a glitch for Twitchy Mitch. I hope you'll do it, since it doesn't look like Operation Oligarch or Operation Obama are going to happen. Maybe those could happen further down the line after we've established a reference point in these hotels around the United States. I hope you will approve this. I hope we can get some senators on board with this, some U.S. representatives on board with this, and we can get this money transferred. And I have the cover story laid out there. I can hit the road. And again, with the USB of these videos in the dash computer system of this fleet vehicle, it'll allow the supercomputers to diagnose and break down how that information, if a phone is plugged in, my phone will be plugged in, how that works on these federal fleet vehicles, and it'll coordinate different patterns on the highways and things like that. So I think that's all I wanted to talk about today. I might have something tomorrow. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you'll approve this operation. I think it's a good one, and I do hope that the wiretaps from the Trump International Hotel do come to fruition at some point. I don't want to make enemies with people in the Middle East. I'm willing to work with people in the Middle East. But I did go into that hotel. I did say that. And I can't help it if I'm one of the most neutral people in the world. I'm not corrupt. I'm not invested in the stock market. I don't take payoffs. I have no skin in the game. I'm just a neutral party. And I believe that would qualify me to be a person of interest, and these supercomputers would then work off of my movements and my strategies to try to create a less corrupt and better world overall. So I hope everything was on the up and up at Trump International Hotel, but if it wasn't, it'll probably all come out in the wash. So until next time, I wish you peace, prosperity, and homeostasis. Thanks.